Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have guest Tracey Whittet. Tracey is an energy healer and intuitive guide specialized in Transmosis Healing, a unique integrated blend of energy modalities that offers multi-dimensional body balancing. Transmosis is an unconscious transfer and assimilation of higher energies that raise the recipient's energy to equal source energy. I have had Tracey as a guest on the show before to talk about this unique healing modality. Welcome back, Tracey. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's fun.
Yes. And so today we're going to talk about a little bit different of a topic. We're actually going to dive into how to design our reality by co-creating with the holographic universe. And so this concept of the holographic universe is that the universe is a conscious hologram and that it's actually working cohesively with us based off of our own frequency and vibration that we are sending out through our energetic field. And our reality is a projection within the hologram. And it's kind of like a virtual experiment created by Source to study emotions. And I had that download one time, is that's why we're here. We're here to kind of study our emotions and to be in this physical body, to be able to feel things that we can't necessarily feel when we're in our light body form. And so the hologram is composed of a grid system created by consciousness, brought into awareness by energy here on this physical plane. And so it's kind of similar to a web. That's the way I visualize it, a web, like almost like the internet, but it's based on sacred geometric patterns. And I see those often, like that grid system that many talk about. And so, the energy, it's created and it's stored and it kind of receives meaning from the universe by projecting certain frequencies. And you and I were just talking about frequencies actually before we started recording. And you and I have been kind of guided to listen to more frequencies. And this is, I think we're being guided because it's helping us expand our consciousness and raise our frequency at the same time. And so, when we have these certain frequencies and vibrations playing out, it's showing up in our third dimensional reality, which then creates a living pattern or a hologram, so to speak. And so I guess this kind of plays in or relates to quantum entanglement. And I think you and I talked about that on our last show, and how that one idea or that one thought alone can be perceived and received all the way across universes, right? And so playing also into this holographic universe idea is the idea that presents that we live in a virtual universe or a simulation, so to speak. And so our sensory experience is an illusion that's kind of produced based off of a perceived reality. It's a projection out from what we are experiencing from the inside. And our senses are actually only perceiving information not in real physical objects, people, or things. It's all an illusion that's been produced by our mind, by our brain. And so there was a Nobel Prize winning physicist named Erwin Schrödinger, and he actually said the total number of minds in the universe is one. And from when I think of that, I think of source energy, right? I think of God, I think of creator. And this is exactly who you're tapping into when you're working with the Transmosis Healing, right, Tracey? And so I want to talk about this whole concept because this is definitely bigger than what we're probably talking about today, but it's really fun to hone in on it. So what are your thoughts around this whole idea of a holographic universe and us living in a simulation?
Well, it kind of makes me relax a little bit because I thought I had to make everything happen, me personally. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm not even in charge. I'm in relationship with the universe, with my external reality. And, if that's true, I really know it to be true. 1% is external. And what the heck is going on that 99% that's in the inner realms? That's where I like to play. That's where I find manifestation easiest. Creating change, following the energy, noticing the symbols in the outer world, everything that you just said. And I'm not a scientist, but I get it. I feel it. And I just want to share one really quick story where I know for a fact that this is true, that this is a hologram. One day I was driving my car to work and I was going along the foothills by 55 miles an hour. This is in Boulder, Colorado. And all of a sudden, there was nothing except like this blue-white light. And it felt like it lasted forever, you know, and I remember looking around to my left and stuff and going, whoa, what is this? And then all of a sudden I come back and I realize my hands are on the wheel and there's like this aperture, a little bit of a view. And it got really wide across my windshield. And then the windshield looked 2D. The view, like how it would look in the landscape behind, you know, in front of me as I'm driving, but no sound, just a flat movie screen. And then all of a sudden, I remember thinking, oh my God, it looks so real. And then sound kicked in, like the tires on the road, and then motion. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? I have seen that it's all light. It's just all light here.
It is. That's exactly how I see it too. It's all light. Like, for example, for those of you watching on YouTube, I have a picture of Norway behind me in mountains, and Tracey has a picture of what looks like the heavens. For those of you watching, you know, you may first question, is she sitting outside with this beautiful landscape and is she floating into the heavens? No, our conscious mind tells us that that's not real, that this is a hologram behind us, right? So yes, I have been to this location to take this photo. However, right in this now moment, I am not sitting on a hillside in Norway. And so I think it's when we are creating things in our mind, this is what we are perceiving in our external realities. And so, you know, your story right there, it was kind of like it presented itself like a movie. And that reminds me of the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, right? He's living in this bubble, this life that he perceives to be real. And then he sees one of the, you know, the cameras from the set fall, or, you know, these different things happen. And he begins to awaken to what is perceived as the illusion. And I think many of us, Tracey, are going through that right now. That's really what this awakening is all about. It's awakening to the idea that we are living in an illusion and that we have the ability to mold it to how we would like to see our external reality be revealed.
Right. I think everything's perspective, perception. How do you view the world? Half the glass half full? Is it half empty? You know, it's all perspective. It's all perception. And if you could just, if you're standing and you're looking and you're thinking a certain way, feeling a certain way, acting a certain way, if you just moved 1 degree to the right or left, everything shifts and everything changes. So, you know, we could also talk about healing and how our attitude, the fixed condition in our mind, like we always think it's this way, if that would just shift 1 degree up or down or whatever, that you would see things differently. Life would be different. It would be experienced differently.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to play with this. And that's why, you know, Tracey and I wanted to talk about this. We didn't really want to talk about the science between the holographic universe and the simulation. There's a lot of, you know, shows you can go down that rabbit hole on your own. But, you know, I believe that this is what we're in. And so I play with it a lot. I play with it. When I worked in the hospital setting, when I started to learn about energy and emotions, I began to play with the energies. You know, there were certain people that would present themselves, you know, to me in my reality that were on more of the negative spectrum. And I began to recognize that my energy was putting that off. I was attracting it. I was magnetizing that to me. So as I began to shift in the mornings, I started doing more meditation. I started listening to frequencies. I would set my tone for my day. And as I began to do that, I would recognize those people would literally see me in the hallway, turn around and go the other direction. But yet I was also attracting more positive people in my life that were very complimentary and very uplifting. And so I had a boss tell me one time, Tanya, your energy is so powerful. You can shift the energy in the room either positively or negatively. And that rattled me a little bit because I always thought I was being a positive influence in the world, but this was a time in my life where I was really drained and burnt out. And obviously I was sending off a signal of stress and burnout and negativity. And as a result, I was attracting more of that into my life.
I had a boss say something similar to me one time. She said, yeah, if Tracey's not happy, nobody's happy.
See?
Whoa.
It shows you how powerful we are.
That was embarrassing. It's like, I can't hide it sometimes.
Yeah, me too. And I felt it was kind of a smack in the face to me when she said, I said, how dare you say that I shift the energy of the room to a negative polarity? But I had to take a step back and really, like kind of analyze, am I doing this? And I did, but I was also highly empathic. So I was picking up on a lot of the energy from others too. And I was obviously creating that vibration, and that was not my reality. That is not what I wanted, but unfortunately that's what I was attracting at the time.
I also feel that our environment can affect our own frequency. We can do the best we can to fill up with so much light, love, and positivity and high vibe and all of that in the morning. Then you walk out the door and something happens. I mean, it's almost like a spiritual exercise or a test. How can I keep my energy up? If you can work with yourself and have that self-responsibility and know that's what's happening, you can shift it. But until you can become aware of it, it doesn't work. Like I had a friend last weekend, she was just feeling horrible and like not normal for herself. And I'm like, well, have you checked your chakras? And she's like, oh, no, I forgot. And so when we checked her chakras, lots of things were closed. We opened up her chakras, then the energy started flowing and she felt better, but we forget.
We do. It's like we have all these tools in our spiritual toolbox and we forget. I know that's been my experience. That's why I started doing this podcast, to be able to share them. And I get reminded about things all the time.
Right. But isn't that part of the program?
Yes.
Whoever the architect is, like with the Matrix, it might be part of the program to forget so that we can remember and wake up. I think it's part of it. Like everything's a gift, but it might not feel like it.
I agree. And you mentioned the term matrix, and I wanted to talk about that because, our physical reality not being real actually dates back to indigenous times, like ancient times, where people actually believed that we were existing in a dream or an illusion. And so, that this current life right now is a dream, that we feel like when we wake up, we're awake, but really this is the dream in itself, right? The virtual reality, so to speak. And so, in our current timeline, it's been called the Matrix, and we hear that often, right? And so the Matrix is a program that's made up of ones and zeros, and it's actually literally a program. And when we're born into the program, we're feeding into that program until we actually wake up to consciously be aware of the program, so to speak. And so, we see a lot of movies that portray this. And I know for me, there were some that really stood out. The Matrix, of course, being one of them. And the whole precipice behind the Matrix is the illusion, and that Neo realizes that he's living in the illusion. Another movie that I love with Leonardo DiCaprio is Inception. And basically that movie, it's about being in a dream within a dream within a dream. And then he gets to a point where his wife doesn't even know what is true and what is not true, what is reality and what is not reality. And I think some of us we get caught up in that, what is reality? I mean, when you're driving down the road and you see, the lights go out and you see the mountains go away and you're like, what just happened? And then you realize that I'm in a dream state. I'm in an illusion. And then I saw a recent movie called Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, and he basically realizes that he is a non-player character. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and what that means. And he begins to realize, he orders the same thing every day, gets up every day, puts the same clothes on. He's completely on autopilot. And then he wakes up, he finds these glasses and wakes up and realizes, whoa, there's way more to this reality than I was perceiving. And so then he decides he wants to leave that reality, you know? And so I think we're seeing this often. And Tracey, you work with theta states. And I was actually, right before we got on the show, I was doing a theta state meditation and it felt so peaceful. And so how do we work with the theta state in our dreams to be able to shift our reality? Because oftentimes in that theta state, the times we're in it, right? Which, unless we're consciously being aware of putting ourselves in it, is right before we fall asleep and right when we wake up. So what can you share with us about working with the theta state to shift our reality?
Yeah, well, sometimes I haven't been remembering my dreams lately, but if I can sleep long enough, longer, what's been happening is I fall asleep and I have all these magical feeling experiences. And then all of a sudden I wake up 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I gotta go back to sleep. And it's hard to go back to sleep. It's been weird. I don't know. It's just the energy that is all around. But when I can sleep longer than normal and I like sleep in, I remember my dreams and my experiences. And oftentimes I'm noticing that it is like a preview to what is going to happen within that day or within that 2 or 3 weeks from then. And I just work with it. I just notice it. I don't consciously know how to change reality because I've been working really hard after being in corporate America for 45 years or whatever. I'm not pushing anymore.
Yes.
I'm sort of surrendering and allowing all the feelings that I don't enjoy feeling and all of the experiences and all of the doubt and all of the super feeling of self-consciousness come up, and just be with that and notice it and wonder if it's even mine.
Yeah.
I'm so, the empathic part, I feel it and I don't sometimes know if it's mine or not. So I have to ask. I have to ask on the inner, is this mine? Oh, well, let's clear that. And if it's not, I return it to sender with consciousness.
Yeah, I do too. I'm like, return to sender, address unknown.
You sound to be kind of like an expert with the theta. I mean, theta is such a lovely space to be in.
And it's so moldable. I know when I work with clients in the theta, when I'm doing the beyond quantum healing, it's such a moldable space. And I know for me, right before I go to bed and before I fall into that theta, I'm visualizing how I want my day to look tomorrow. I'm visualizing how I want to feel, the interactions, what I may or may not experience, and and on a positive level. And I guess when I say, how to change your reality, so to speak, in the theta, that's really what you're doing is you are setting the frequency, right? Setting the frequency as you move into that theta state and really being able to shift and transform things. And I know when I'm working with people, when they're in that theta, it's such a programmable state. And, I'm sure, working in theta from the time we're born to roughly age 6 or 7, we're in a theta state, right? We're in those observatory years. And that's where we pick up a lot of our, our ways of working in society, our ways of handling things. If we're witnessing our parents, dealing with stress through fighting, then we're going to pick up those programs and we're going to continue them on. But those are malleable. Those are changeable in the theta state. We can go in there, observe that program, and then change it and shift it, and we can either do that with a practitioner like you or I, or you can do it on your own. You can get into that theta state through meditation.
I don't know if it was theta or not technically, but what I used to do is when I would get up really early and I would walk the dogs right away, I would put on their leashes, even if it was cold out, and just walk. And we'd walk around this school that wasn't open yet. It was a high school, it was early in the morning, still dark. And I guess I was in sales at the time, and I'm like, okay, I have these 2 or 3 appointments today. And I would visualize them saying yes, and not for greed, but for their highest good, for their business, to have the advertising happen for them, or on the internet and stuff like that. So as I'm walking, I don't know if I'm in beta, I'm not talking, but I'm in that space of creation.
Yeah.
And when I'm working with someone doing the transmosis healing work, there's this level of meeting another consciousness that where I think the alchemy occurs is in the recipient's ability to receive it and receive it, really, is what you're saying, because they bring it in and consider or allow it to be true, what I'm sharing, that I hear and I see, like, oh, you're surrounded by golden light and this and that, and I'm not making it up. I'm actually like taking dictation. So I'm curious to know, in the holographic universe,
Yeah.
how that even works. Like, how are we plugging into source?
Yeah, and I think too, because we are source, right? If that there's one mind, right?
Oh,
So
yeah, I forgot.
I was recently guided to the Law of One, the Book of Ra, and that's what it talks about, is we're all one. But in this simulation, we have separation, we have duality, we have black and white, we have positive, negative, we have polarity, where when you get up higher and closer to source, it's all one. They, source doesn't recognize that, but as part of the simulation, we have signed up to be a part of this, to experience this particular duality, to experience life on earth, to experience being in a physical body, to experience emotions and different things that we all feel here in our human selves. And so, yeah, no, that's a good question, because you're like, if this is all, I look at it as source created the simulation. There's probably infinite simulations out there. And as part of our, Ra talks about learn, teach, as we learn, we teach, as we teach, we learn. And it's this beautiful cycle. And so that's what source is all about. It's just, source is wanting, source, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, the universe is desiring to experience an infinite number of experiences and doing it through each and every one of us. And we get to experience it along the ride as well. We just are seeing it from a different standpoint, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Source is seeing it from the eagle and we're seeing it from the ant, right?
Right. So going on to your wanting to talk about the simulation or the non-player
characters. Yeah.
Right. There's another movie that just came out, well, years ago, Steven Spielberg, Real Player One.
Oh, I don't even think I've seen that.
It's all a video game of how
Uh-huh.
to change things within the system and all of that. It's fascinating. So you might like that.
I might like that, because I love movies are a visual way to have a deeper understanding of what is actually going on. You have those aha moments when you watch movies.
Well, it's just like the Disney movie called Soul. I
Yes.
love that movie. I was like, oh, is that what happens? We go along these conveyor belts and
Or even Moana. Yeah, it's like there's so much disclosure, so to speak, they call it, in these movies. But let's talk a little bit about non-player characters. So Dolores Cannon, the woman, she's passed now, but she's the one who created the quantum healing hypnosis technique. And she talked a lot in many of her books. She talked about what she called the backdrop people, or what many call them as well as non-player characters, or NPCs. For those that play video games, they know what NPCs are. Right. And these are the artificial players that were created by Source as fillers, right, to play out the experiences in this particular virtual reality or simulation, so to speak. And so they look, sound, and feel real. However, an easy way to distinguish them is they oftentimes lack empathy. They do not take to awakening concepts very easily. They push the matrix agenda of separation and negativity, and are often obsessed with distracting you from your spiritual path. So I have encountered these NPCs actually, it's very interesting, because now I'm starting to see through the illusion. I can see their eyes look a little different. They may glitch out a little bit. They may look like almost like a checkerboard pattern. I can't even explain it. It's like, ooh, I can tell that that's particularly an NPC. And they are created to kind of tempt us, challenge us, maybe even evoke energy, from what we call the source players in the game. So these, if you watch the movie Free Guy, you'll have a better understanding of what that kind of concept actually means. But their whole role is to fuel the matrix and to keep us in the program. And so as we're awakening to that, we begin to recognize that we can see these more clearly. We can kind of see through them. And for those of you that remember the movie back in the 80s or 90s called They Live, it had like Roddy Piper and he was like a world wrestler. But anyway, it was kind of a cheesy movie. But anyway, he finds these glasses and he puts them on and he's able to see through the matrix. He's able to see through the illusion. He can see all the advertising behind what we would see, you know, as just a person laying on the beach. He actually sees buy this or obey this. And he sees the journalists as skeletons. They don't have souls. They're just the non-player characters in it. And so that's a really cool movie, even though it's kind of cheesy. It's a really interesting movie to kind of have you grasp that concept just a little bit. So Tracey, number one, have you experienced these NPCs? And if you have, what have you learned, you know, through that?
Oh, I don't mean to be disparaging, however.
Or maybe you haven't even been consciously aware of your experience with them.
Well, I worked for a company that was a contractor for prison healthcare.
Oh, interesting.
And
Ooh.
I worked with the state government employees, and there is just a certain frequency or energetic patterning with some of the individuals that I dealt with where I was like, why don't you see that this is the wrong choice and decision in your program? Why can't we do this? And it was like, it's just like this rote program of the way that the 3D world is, that this is how it has to be. And I can say that my friend, and I think you were saying checkerboard, I think you're seeing the pixels.
That's it. That's the word, pixels.
They were
Yes,
pixelated.
thank you. Mm-hmm.
I have seen glitches, even with conscious people. Like I went out to the Chi Center.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's great. And I went out there and it was a half an hour away. And I went out on a, let's say a Wednesday, and I passed the teacher, Master Ming Tong, and he was right in the same spot. And we had a conversation. It was very fun and great for a short period of time. And then I went on. 2 days later, I come back and he's in the same spot.
Okay, so
this the Matrix? Is this deja vu? Are you the
yes
black right now?
I have experienced that too. I saw a lady walk by with her black dog. She had a black dog and it was a huge dog. That's why I was like, oh, it kind of drew my attention because the dog was like almost bigger than her. She walks by. I head out to the, 2 seconds to go to the kitchen, come back, and I see her walking the same direction in the same. I was like, whoa,
Wait.
What was that? Did I just experience like some sort of a time glitch or a time loop? And I've been witnessing this more and more now. I'll even see things in the sky, like the same airplane will go by twice in the same exact location. And it makes you second guess. But yet, if you think of the Truman Show movie, he did that in the beginning too. He was like, well, that was weird. Well, that was odd, until you actually catch on. And then you realize, oh, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. I'm becoming more consciously aware of this simulation, so to speak.
I think that there's also a program of doubt, because why did he not just know and go forward with, why do we do that? I think there's also a program or a virus or whatever you want to call it of doubt, of illness, of negativity. I mean, it's like it probably means something now more than ever about getting your buttons pushed.
Yes. And I think that that's what the NPCs are set up to do. So even in the Truman Show, when he started to wake up to the set that he was on, the people around him, his wife, his neighbor, his best friend, were all non-player characters or actors that were there to continually tell him, no, you're crazy. What are you talking about? That didn't happen. Here, focus over here. Look at this. And, you didn't see that weird camera fall out of the sky. What are you talking about? So it's like, my question is how many, okay, so they say there's one to every one source player, every one main player, they have 5,000 non-player characters and they're like, that's significant. Like and I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of been something that I've seen over and over again. So you wonder, it's like, whoa, and when you meet other source players, I know I can feel it. And here's the thing. This is my question. When I was putting this show together, I thought, Are non-player characters just those who are unconscious that haven't activated their pineal gland yet? Were we non-player characters at one time? And as we began to awaken, we began to bring in more light, bring in more of our soul. I don't know.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
My body said no.
Okay,
that we
good.
Not.
Then there's your validation.
I trust my body, and it doesn't lie. And it was like, when you asked that question, I was like, no.
Okay. So the non-player characters you feel are just, they're the backdrops. They're those fill-in people around us that when we create our simulation, they're there to just fill in. The lady walking the dog, right? The neighbor over here who's getting mad and coming over and banging on your door to lower your frequency. While you've just done a meditation and you're high vibrational state, and then someone comes in to lower your frequency. I've actually learned now, I'm like, oh, no, Matrix, you're not getting me today. Oh no, you are not lowering my frequency. And then boom, it kind of goes away.
Right.
So it's like becoming consciously aware of it.
Right. Wow, there was a lot in there that I unpacked. It's like in access consciousness, we would be considered humanoids. We're not pure human or whatever. And then there's humans. And when I do energy work, I've always seen it like the reality or whatever, kind of like energetic, invisible scaffolding, like a structure and a form that's all around us. But I had never thought of it being like a human plant, if you will.
Not even a plant. It's just a part of, okay, you worked in sales and whatnot. We used to do, what was it called? It was where, we had to kind of act things out. Like I worked in organ donation, and we would have actors act as grieving families. And I had to go in there and talk to them about their death, their death of their loved one, and then talk about donation. And I was in that particular moment, I was the main player in that, because I was the one going in as a learning experience, where the others were just acting out a role and responding to what I was putting out. Right. And so I guess I look at it like that, that they're a part of whatever energy we are putting out. They're responding to it in a way that mirrors back to us and shows us where our frequency is.
Do NPCs have soul?
I don't know. And that's a good question. That's really a good question, Tracey. I do not know. I do not know that. And so
no.
I don't know. And, and even the concept of the NPCs, but, for those of you out there, Tracey and I, we're not saying that this is the real deal. This is the end all be all. We're just having a dialogue about this today, because these are crazy rabbit holes that I go down. And Tracey said, hey, let's talk about this. And so here we are.
I have a friend that has been really aware. It's up in his awareness and consciousness about this. And he called me or texted me one day. He was at the airport, and he goes, oh my God, I swear to God, a sim just walked by. This person looked flat almost. They looked 2D. I'm like, wow.
So that would be a non-player character, I would assume, right? And I think as we raise our frequency, it's going to be easier for us to see and feel. I know I feel them. It's like, I almost feel, how the Tin Man, what did a Tin Man? Didn't have a heart? Is that what the Tin Man didn't have? You know how she knocks on his chest and is like, he's like, it's not in there. Tick, 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 but that's almost what I feel when I encounter them. It's like hollow. I can't even explain it. It's more of a feeling than necessary. Like I said, sometimes I see their eyes are a little off. But I do feel it's part of our learning process here on Earth. This whole simulation is teaching us how to feel emotions, how to heal emotions, how to understand our healing, how to raise our frequency, all of these different things that many of us are doing through this journey.
Right. It's always a lesson. It's always a gift, no matter what the lesson is. And then I started thinking about, okay, so what about clients, the clients that come to work with us, when you gave that example of role playing as you're talking to
role playing. I'm like, how can I not find that word?
Yeah, that's very uncomfortable, because I think the difference is when we are speaking, like right now, we're authentic, we're genuine, we're coming from presence and in this moment, right? But when you're doing a role play, it's simulated, it's
Yes.
artificial, it's a facsimile, it's a copy of how the real deal might go down. So I'm looking at it that way too with
No,
the,
that's a good perspective.
right?
And you wonder if that's when you have source player to source player, it's a different energy than source player to an NPC, you know?
Well, that's probably what I also term like-minded people. I love hanging around like-minded people. Are we all source players? Because I don't really play video.
I don't know. And that's a good question. And that's why I just love, I love going down these rabbit holes, and I like to have a dialogue about it because I do not know. I do not know. I mean, there's days when you're having a really great day and you're going out and doing your business, running errands, and then someone just really gets under your skin or tries to upset you. And you have a choice at that time. Do I let that frequency upset me and let it change my vibration and then allow myself to go about a day feeling upset and angry about that? Or do I just blow it off and say, that's their perception, that's not my reality, and continue to hold your frequency high? And is that when NPCs come in? Is that when they come in to challenge us on where we're at? They tempt us. They see how are you mastering your frequency? How are you mastering your energy as part of the role playing, as part of that simulation?
So in that instance, let's say you're at the grocery store and, that kind of person comes around you or whatever. There's also the other choice of like, oh, they're having a bad day. I'm so happy. I feel really full of light and love, and I feel really harmonic today. I feel really good. And they can't lower my frequency no matter what. What is that?
No, that's you mastering your energy. That's you saying, I'm not going to let them affect me. And, that's why I joke and I say, oh no, Matrix, you're not going to lower my frequency today. This is where I'm at and I'm feeling good. I'm not going to let that one player come in and try to shift or, where there was a time when I wasn't consciously aware and I would let that person affect my energy. And then I'd go about my day being like talking about, oh, this person upset me at the grocery store. Oh, this person gave me the bird when I was driving, or, oh, whatever it is, but now it's like, I kind of laugh at it. I'm just like, oh, no. But I also think there's times when things are mirrored back to us, like things are mirrored back for us to consciously look within ourselves to be able to say, why am I attracting that? Why, what in my energy made me attract that experience?
Yeah, I've noticed it in the positive where I've had one of those days where I'm just solidly light or something, I feel really good. And I don't know how come. And I would like to recreate that every moment of my life, but this is where it is in this moment. And I'm walking through the store. And then all of a sudden I notice people like going, hi, and smiling.
Yes. I noticed that too.
Like, wow, this is fun.
This is a fun day. But then that's your virtual reality, right? Because I've had that happen. I'll be walking. It was really weird. I went on a hike with a friend the other day and we were getting ready to get in our cars and some guy pulls in a car and is waving at us like a crazy person. I don't even know who that person is. And so my first thought was, who is this guy? Does he know us? So we wave and he just smiles. And I thought, that must be the frequency we're in, because now we're attracting smiley, happy people that are waving at us. And I've experienced that as well. And so I think when, we talk about the holographic universe, it's you were being consciously aware that I'm in a really good frequency. And now people are waving at me and they're smiling. But it's when people are not waving at you and smiling and they're, kind of yelling or being frustrated or whatever. And you're like, oh, what energy, am I rippling out that's actually attracting this, mirror back to me from the holographic universe?
Or sometimes is the holographic universe more potent, more stronger in that reality of, and could that be that the NPCs and the environment that we're in, and it has nothing to do with ourself, we're inserted there to notice it maybe, but really like mass consciousness is going through something, and we're feeling it all through those people that are surrounding us.
Could be that too. Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not necessarily we're creating it consciously anyway, but we're at the effect of what's going on in the universe.
Yeah.
Earthquakes, volcanoes, all these things going off.
And I can even talk about that. I've done grid work and created an earthquake with my team doing portal work. Yes. So I know that we created that. We did it on a ley line. We shifted the energy. So, okay. Greg Braden wrote a book called The Divine Matrix. Fantastic book. I've probably read it 10 times at different stages in my life. He talks about how our internal reaction or our internal frequency can affect the weather. And I watched this when I lived in Florida. I watched people focusing intention on getting hurricanes to leave a certain area. And I watched the hurricane bounce back and forth at the edge of Florida. I've even had downloads of information that a lot of people talk about chemtrails and a bunch of, stuff in the sky. I've even had downloads of information that it's all internal. If you're full of heavy metals, which chemtrails are made of, you will see them. I don't see chemtrails anymore. I completely heavy metal detox. I do all of these internal cleanses. Now my projection, like a movie, right? That you're watching a movie, but the projector's behind you. You hear it going tick, 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 Now, when you cleanse and you heal and you raise your frequency, your external reality, even the weather, will begin to shift. So, but then there's times when people will say, did you feel that earthquake? And I'm like, no, I didn't feel it, but I was 2 doors down from someone who did feel it, and you're like, So we're all in our own little universes, it's like we're all, but yet sometimes we interact with one another. So I don't know. That's just, y'all out there might be like, that's crazy, but I'm just putting it out there that this, read the book, The Divine Matrix. Greg Braden really goes into detail about that. And I'm part, I've got that Lemurian aspect and that Atlantean. So I've got the mind and the heart. So I really like to play around with some of these things. It's like, okay, what if I do this, what am I projecting out? And then I'll see shifts and things change. So I know for me personally, I can manipulate it. I can mold it. I can change it with my energy alone. And it's even stronger with others when you get together with others, like the Maharishi effect, where many people would get together and meditate, right? And then they could shift. There was a town with a bunch of crime, and Maharishi came in and got a bunch of people to meditate and focus on peace. And that town's, the crime rate went down significantly.
I think the NIH did that with the alternative medicine for Washington, D.C., and they did it for 24 hours, and they measured it, and crime went down for 24 hours.
Yeah.
By putting positivity.
It's that directed intention. And I know, you work a lot with manifestation and law of attraction, and that community will focus on how our thoughts and emotions create what we attract, into our lives. And so if you're not attracting something, then it's something within you, the energy, the frequency that needs to shift in order for you to change your frequency. And so that in itself could be working with the holographic universe, working with that simulation as well. And it's hard because, simulation, you think of AI, you think of, artificial intelligence, and maybe there's another word out there, instead of simulation, so to speak, that's a little bit more in resonance, How
about nature intelligence?
Could be that too. Yeah. Source intelligence. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I know this is a lot to chew on, right? It's
Definitely.
A lot of food for thought.
I do know when I've worked with people and sometimes they didn't experience a change, I used to take it to heart, and I used to take it like, wow, I suck. But their consciousness, people's consciousness, who they are, the essence of who and what we are is a active part in healing, for example. And as I have worked with many people, I realize, I think where the alchemy happens is when our two consciousnesses get together, and I can, put it out there and I can share what I hear and see. But if their energy doesn't really maybe unconsciously want to shift, then they won't.
Yeah.
And they
They have
won't.
to be open to receiving it, right?
Yeah, and I'm curious about that. And I think our mind is very strong. I worked with someone that had OCD, and I worked with someone that was still holding on to something from 60 years ago, kind of a thing. And it's like, I don't know how to water that down because it's not up to me. It's just me to be present to witness and allow them to shift with an extra oomph and boost of light and consciousness and things like that. So I don't know about the law of attraction. Like, did I attract two clients that were like this so that I would learn that it's not about me?
Maybe, or you just learn that you're a vessel for source and that they have to take some accountability, right? Like, even, it's like even Jesus, it's like the people were open to receiving. They were like, please heal me. Please, I'm ready. Please, I want to be healed. Where some people may not be ready for that yet. And so, I'm a firm believer that we attract the clients that we're meant to attract. I know I'll be working on something myself and then boom, I attract clients that are working on it too. And it's
Yeah.
all a frequency. It's all where we line up, that vibration. And so if you're having love blocks, then you're going to attract clients that are having love blocks. If you're having money blocks, you're going to attract clients or even people in your life, that teachers that could bring information to you about how to clear that or how to move that through. And so there's that mirroring effect of what we're doing. And so just understanding that vibration and that frequency. And the thing is that we change our vibration every second. We're changing our vibration, and even probably more than a second.
Well, what is the Schumann resonance? 7.83 or whatever. And that goes in 1 second around the entire planet.
Yeah.
What? How does that work?
Oh,
Wow.
I know. So it's
So
like
law of attraction, I think there's more to it. It has to be like a full body experience, right? It can't just be a mental affirmation. Yes. I'm going to say this until I believe it or whatever. And then you feel it. And it's, who's in control? Who's the architect?
Well, I think source is the architect, but we're collaborating with source on that.
Right.
Because we are source, because we're all one.
I don't know how to
but we also have free will, so we have the choice. We have the choice to choose what experience we want to experience, but many of us are unconscious and not even recognizing that we are to an extent co-creating what's going on in our external reality. Because I had OCD, I learned EFT tapping, I learned all of this, but it came to one day where I just woke up and said, I'm done with this. I'm not doing anymore. And at that moment I shifted timelines. I was different. Even people recognized it. They're like, oh my gosh, you aren't as, kind of rigid. You aren't as specific. You aren't as, and I just got to a point where I let the perfectionism go that I had been holding on to, but it did take me some modalities to get there. Did it change it in the modality when I was doing it? No, it just one day I woke up and said I was done.
How simple is that? That's a choice.
It is that's what I mean. It's a choice. And I also put momentum and energy behind it. When it would creep up, I'd be like, no, I don't need to clean the door handle 3 times. No, I don't need to check the garage door 3 times. I don't need to, so it was also part of the reprogramming that I had to, especially if your client was doing it for 60 years, that's a long program to be running. Right.
Exactly.
And so I think, as we're co-creating with the universe, we also have choices as well. We have a choice. There's an infinite number of paths for us to take, and we can choose whatever path we want to go down. And every path, it's like Mad Libs. Do you remember playing Mad Libs and those books?
So
and
funny.
You put in different words, and you could have a different experience every single time based off of the adjective or the noun or the verb that you put in there. Yes. I look at our life as that we have a choice in every single moment to change the adjective, the noun, and the verb to experience a different reality. And the universe is working with us on that. Okay, you want to experience this? I'm going to bring some things in your life that will show you this. And then, oh, you don't want that anymore? Okay, well, then you need to shift your energy and focus on what you do want. And I think that's where law of attraction comes in. Is it's
Well,
a
I'm
lot of
wondering
focusing.
about love. Love is like an essence, and I almost feel like it could just like fill up the entire matrix and just melt it all away.
I agree. I 100% agree with you on that. I 100. I think, and because love is one of the highest frequencies, and I do feel the matrix is at a certain vibration. And so once you begin to raise your vibration, you'll begin to recognize I don't jive with the matrix anymore. It makes me
Right.
uncomfortable, the restriction, but until you consciously become aware that the matrix even exists, and that you need to, I think love is the answer,
I do too.
for everything, and connecting that oneness.
It seems to be like the thing, the essence, the quality that overwrites the whole program. Almost like just liquid golden light over the whole program, and it makes it better, and then we can create something new from a different platform. Like I think there's different octaves of awareness
Yeah.
and frequency and all of those kinds of things. Wow, it's just, and then there's a part of me that goes, well, if it's a matrix and if it's just a game, what's the point? Why should I worry? Why should I have fear?
That's what I say. It's like, we're here to experience fear. That's an emotion, a human emotion. But why do we sit in it all the time? Because we're in, you talk to near-death experiencers that cross over and come back, and they're like, this is all an illusion. This is a game. It's a game. Literally, this is a game. But it's also a spiritual game too. I think that there's many layers to the game. It's not just like you're plugging away on a Nintendo, and there's many layers to growth, and we're here to to understand ourselves more and to grow and to I think many teachers will say it's like we came from spirit to feel matter, and then now we're going back to spirit as we age. And so I think, yeah, it's like, and I'm sure the listeners out there, you guys all have a lot of perspectives on this as well. And this is just me and Tracey's perspective. And you can see we have, and I think for me, I just like to throw different perspectives out there. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? I am not dead set on any of these because I do not know.
I don't know. And that's a really smart place to be. Just like, okay, show me what I'm supposed to know and do with this information. And, are we supposed to beat the game? And what would beating the game be like? Would that be returning home to source, but
returning
still
to love? I don't know. Yeah.
Right. We can ascend in our body. We don't have to, and I don't know games, but in that Real Player One, I think it's called, or
I need to watch that.
I forget what that is. They would get coins, like in Mario Brothers, you get all these coins, and just, I think it's like the golden carrot.
It
just
is.
Keep going. Just keep working it, trying it, noticing it, being aware of it, and not being attached. That's the hardest part.
Yes.
Not being attached, and just notice and see the sensation. I go, oh, that's interesting. Let me stay in neutral right here, right now, even though I want to throttle your throat or hug the heck out of you. There's that.
Non-player character, I'm not going to even put my energy towards it, because I know it's just a lesson for me to hold my frequency.
That's just mind-blowing about the non-player character. It's just mind-blowing. I think that, and I have gone to stores and things like that, and people are just sort of like
robots.
Yeah. Like,
especially Walmart.
And then I judge.
If you want to go experience a non-player character, go to Walmart.
Well, then I'm walking through Walmart and I'm going, wow, I'm here too.
It's almost like, it's almost like a zombie. I don't even know how to explain it. When I have that experience, it's someone who lacks life almost. I don't know. Maybe some of the viewers can explain it a little bit more in detail, for us.
Vacant.
And maybe the game, Tracey, isn't necessarily to win or to beat it. Maybe the game is just to be an experience.
Well, that's the truth, I think, right there. That's it. And, game over. I don't know. Let me try a new chapter. It's just like turning the page. What else do I want? That's the question. What do I want? I don't want to be in the parameter of the game so much.
Yeah.
I want to be able to create outside the parameter of the game. And that's uncharted territory.
It
That
is.
is creation. That is fun. That is using all of me,
Uh-huh.
all of me, you know, intellect, emotion, past experience. What do I want for future experience? I mean, it can all just be really viable, really, really alive, and not just virtual where it's sort of a certain tone.
Mhm.
It's like an orchestra of life, of experiencing everything. Today, I want to be alone and read a book. Tomorrow, I want to fly on a plane to Paris and have dinner, you know, whatever. I would like to be able to just go wherever, whenever, follow the energy and trust it, trusting that it is for everything, everyone, mine included, highest good. It's for everything.
It is. And maybe that's the game too. We create our own. That's the beauty of it, is we get to create our own vision of what this experience here on earth looks like to each and every one of us.
Yeah, and it's unfolding. Like I imagined all of a sudden, like board games that we used to play, Monopoly, Life, whatever. And then it turned into like 3D games where you drop the coins in. My kids had that game, or the
Uh-huh.
hand game where you're just, you know, you know, and now it's on TV or it's virtual.
Or the
And what's
glasses.
next?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And now what's going to be next? It's a it's proof of looking at the evolution. It's proof of looking at the unfolding of uncovering, of discovering, of unearthing what else is possible.
Yeah. That's really neat. I had many years ago when I was working in hospice and around death, I thought it would be fun to create a virtual reality for people in hospice, people where they could actually create how they wanted their, not their life to end. I wanted it more to have a beautiful ending to their life before they passed, where they could actually create, you know, if they wanted to pass in a meadow, they could create a beautiful meadow instead of being in a hospital bed, you know, in a
Yes,
hospice. And
yes,
so it was kind of just putting them out of the current reality that they were in, but using their mind to do it, and to have the bird sounds and to smell the scents of the flowers and, you know, those types of things. And so, you know, it's just really interesting because, like I said, there's a lot of movies, Avatar, you know, all these different movies that kind of portray this idea that we're just in this physical body, but we're a light being, you know. And maybe we're bored and we're like, hey, let's go create this reality, and now we're all here having amnesia and we don't remember who we are. And we're
right.
just
And I
like,
thought that was part of the experiment and part of the game is to
yeah.
up and remember who you are. And just recreate it anytime we want. There's another book out there that you might have read by Rob Schneider. I think it's called Busting Loose of the Money Game. And it is talking about the virtual reality, the amusement park that we live in. And
Mhm.
then there's another show on Apple TV called Silo that's really like, what? You know, they are, I don't know, because it's still going on. So I don't know the end, but there's a lot of that trickery with the simulation and how they think that they're supposed to live in this silo and they don't know why they're there and they trust that they're there. But then when they go outside, they see all this beautiful greenery and it turns out to be virtual reality and it's not real. What's really there is the world is like devastated and there's all these silos all around. I mean,
Oh no. Oh
it's
no. I mean, that's similar to Truman, you know, it's like he gets to the ocean and crosses over. And so,
yeah.
you know, I think, you know, Tracey, I'm glad that we had this dialogue. And really, my whole intention of the show was to just start some dialogue and start thinking about it, and just, you know, allowing us to be a little bit more conscious in our lives and pay a little bit more attention to things that may be going on around us that maybe we've been turning a blind eye on, or maybe we haven't been recognizing it. And so, um, also, you know, kind of having a deeper understanding that we do play a part in this. We are a role player, you know, in our lives, in our own lives, and we have the power to shift that as well. And so, Tracey, I want to, you know, end the show with you just kind of telling us a little bit about some of the services that you provide and how people can connect with you.
Oh, how kind. Thank you. I have a website, TraceyWhittet.com, and I offer one-on-one individual healing sessions, and it's like soul work. It is it's very sacred, and I don't know how I do what I do. And I think I was plucked in from the divine to do this role. But basically, it's holistic health on all levels, layers, timelines, dimensions. And a person will tell me what they want to work on. And then I will muscle test a map of all these places where wounds and disconnects can be in the anatomy. It's like spiritual hygiene, and we clean up our energy bodies that we normally don't think about or see. And it's just a divine dialogue, a divine flow that's recorded. And then I send it to you afterwards, whether it's on Zoom or in person here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it is unique. It is integrated. It is like synergy of everything that you want to work on and everything that I got that you need to work on, that spirit tells me you need to work on or whatever. But then when I share what I hear and see, that's a whole nother experience. It's for our highest and greatest good. So people feel better, lighter, and come back when they want. That's it. It's like not like therapy, but it's deep cleansing. That's what it is.
Yes. And that's amazing. And I will share the video that you and I did several months ago at the end of this video. So for those of you out there that want to learn a little bit more about what Tracey does and the multi-dimensional balancing, and you can learn a little bit more about that. But Tracey, you think there's anything else that you'd like to share before we end the show that maybe we didn't cover on? I'm sure there's a whole lot more we could cover on, but
I know I could keep talking, and it's
if
like
we're multi-dimensional beings, that we could be in infinite virtual reality. So we don't
I think that we're the virtual assistant to our life. And then we have a whole tech team of higher beings that work with us that we may not even be aware of, assisting us to get along the path to get the coin or do whatever it is in virtual reality games. So I just think just trust what's happening and go with it, and trust yourself, and just have fun.
Yeah, and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I think that's really what it's all about. It's like part of this reality is that we have different perspectives of things, and just being open to hearing everybody's perspective. That's fun,
Yeah.
and versus just shutting it down and saying, no, but just if it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate, and move on, and so, and if it does, then go down the rabbit hole and have a good time, that's the beauty of it.
Exactly. You're so beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tracey. Thank you for coming on the show and having this very meaty dialogue today.
I didn't know where we were going to go, but it was a lot of fun.
We had some fun talking about random concepts. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.